Okay. Hello, Wolfgang. Thank you so much for accepting our invite for Let's Talk About Data. It's pleasure to have you here. And I think this is our first session online. We would love to hear about you, know about you. Our audience would love to know about you. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, so thanks, first of all, thanks for the invitation. Thanks for having me. Um, I'm always keen to discuss with multiple disciplines, and as far as I know, you're very well involved in the data communities. Yeah, and we
Yeah.
all know how important the topic of data is and information and computer scientists. If you study computer science, you know the connection between data and information and the business and so on.
Yeah.
And so when you invited me, I was quite excited because now I have a bit of an audience coming from a different discipline, maybe a bit of a different mindset compared to where I'm coming from. Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm coming from, usually I studied computer science, then I worked as a software developer for 7 years. Then I went into business analysis, later enterprise architecture. So I called it
Okay.
enterprise architecture, which still is most of the time IT architecture. We must be honest enough that
Yeah.
people calling themselves enterprise architects usually are IT strategic application portfolio managers. Yeah.
Mm.
And 6 years ago, I met my partner. We founded Intersection Group currently. That's a not-for-profit association because we believe that this understanding of enterprise, like enterprise architects see it, is not big enough to design what we call enterprises, yeah, or you could call
Mm.
enterprises a corporation can be an enterprise, and associations there can be multiple legal forms. And I think in at Intersection Group and also in my daily job, I have also a day job in the energy sector in Austria.
Okay.
My mindset and what I try to achieve is to create better enterprises. Yeah, and that's a sometimes for some people maybe a difficult term. What do we mean by enterprises? And what's the difference maybe to other topics like corporations or legal associations or however, whatever. It's so we believe that an enterprise is an ambitious endeavor of people. So what we say is if you have a group of 5 people and you found a small association and you pursue some purpose. So it can be a football club, for example. Yeah? You have a group of people and they have a shared ambition. They want to win the championship, for example. Is an enterprise very different from a
Oh,
huge
okay.
corporation like General Electrics with hundreds of thousands of employees. It's also an very different enterprise. Yeah? But
Mhm.
what they all have in common, and maybe that's that's our most important statement, is that they have people that share an ambition. They want to achieve something. So that means it's an humanistic approach.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's my understanding. That's what that's our impetus. That's what we want to get done as a not-for-profit association to help people create better enterprises. Yeah. And
Oh.
data is of course some people say it's the fuel of enterprises, and I would certainly agree, but it's not the only fuel. Some people say we need to have data-centric data products. We must be data-focused, AI for whatever focused. We say
Hmm.
it's first and foremost about people. We must people drive enterprises, not. So that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, so let me just for our audience, our today's topic is how the design of our corporate data is related to the whole enterprise.
Yes.
So that's our topic. So when you proposed this topic, I was also very excited because
Yes.
it's a very confusing term. As you correctly mentioned, people are still confused what data is. People are
Yep.
still arguing on the data. Not only data, people are still arguing on data models, whether we need to have data model or not, right? So all these arguments are still there, and we have entered the era of AI.
Yes.
And not AI, we have entered the era of AI agent, because these two are, for me, yes, are interrelated, but AI agent will totally change the horizon of,
Okay.
it's a new era, I would say, because the more it will get mature, the more automation will come. And as people say, right, when AI came, AI agent comes, jobs will go.
Hmm.
As being an optimistic person, I don't think so. I believe uh, if last time we were developing 100 applications or data products in a year, now it'll go to 10,000 or 100,000. So because ideas are unlimited, optimizations are unlimited, human capital is limited. We all know that.
Yep.
So AI will really help us out. So again, coming back to our, so tell us about this, how you come up with this corporate data versus enterprise data, what motivated you, and
Yeah.
how it goes. Then
It is
along
an
with that, yeah.
For me, I would agree it's a fascinating topic, and I agree that we are in the era of artificial intelligence,
Hmm.
even if I'm not sure if I agree to the optimistic view on of this AI agents. I'm not sure for some reasons, but okay, but maybe we can start here as maybe that's a good way to start and to illustrate it. Yeah. When we at Intersection Group talk of enterprises, we think they can be modeled and describe what's going on in the current state by only four elements. Yeah, like in this picture, what you see here is a situation around a railway station and many people. Yeah, so enterprises are about people. People pursue purposes. That's different from data and IT, of course. We have feelings, we have emotions, we have intent, maybe. Yeah, and AI that doesn't have an intent, but we as people have intent, we have motivation, we have feelings. That's why I believe people drive enterprises, not data. Yeah. So, and what you see in this picture, you see people and they are performing activities, various activities, a broad variety of activities. Yeah? You have a train driver, and he needs to move the train from A to B. Yeah, so that's an activity. So now we have a person, a train driver with certain skills,
Hmm.
pursuing an activity. And of course, an enterprise performs hundreds, thousands of activities, 10,000s probably every day.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm a person, I'm Wolfgang, I'm talking to you. That's my activity. I'm doing that using an object, or the train driver uses the train. So that's an object. It's a dead thing, but it's mandatory to achieve to get something done, like my microphone or my computer. I need this object in order to perform the activity. And so now we have those three elements: people performing activities using objects, and maybe the most important or the one that is the driver, is the impetus for the people, are outcomes. We all want to get something done. Yeah, so the railway company, maybe Deutsche Bahn in that case, it's from Deutsche Bahn, German railways. Of course, they want to move their trains on time with high degree of punctuality from A to B. So that's one of their intended outcomes. And if I look at this picture, I see other people, customers maybe. I have this little kid on the bottom here, Süßkram, that's a German word for candy. So it's a candy shop on the bottom left here. And you see a child. It's definitely a person. And it has an intended outcome. It's a boy. I think he wants to have something sweet in his mouth because that is a good feeling for because he likes candy. Yeah. So the intended outcome is to have a sweet feeling. That's the outcome. And he needs to buy. Money is an object. Candy is an object. It's a product to get something done. And they are all part of this situation here. Some are part of Deutsche Bahn. Yeah, the boy here may become a passenger, a customer of Deutsche Bahn. So you can discuss is he part of this enterprise or not? I think as soon as he boards the train, he's a customer of the enterprise. So it's also important to model what's going on in the ecosystem. So I think that's our understanding of enterprises. It's about people with a shared ambition. They want to get something done. Deutsche Bahn wants to get something done. And and that's the meta model, if you want. So as intersection group, we created EDGY, which is a language to describe enterprises as is and to design future states of enterprises. And the core of the idea is people perform activities using creating object to achieve outcomes. And now, where does data come in here? Yeah, in EDGY, yes, we have data. We see data as an object. So you could say people perform activities using or creating data to achieve outcomes, but they are still pursuing outcomes. And if you are not clear in the intended outcome, because the question is not trivial, yeah, what's our mission? What's our purpose? What activities do we need to perform and so on? So there's a lot of work to be done to design enterprises, but it's always about designing how to group people in organizational structures, which processes, which is a sequence of activities, do we need, which data do I need in these processes, for example, which data are created in which processes, how do we call the data entities, for example. Yeah, that's a big, big question. So language is super important to achieve outcomes. And maybe that's the different viewpoint. Whenever I on LinkedIn I hear about, yeah, we must be set up data governance and the data products and data-driven company, I say that will never really happen, because you have people, the managers maybe, and their departments, and they want to achieve outcomes. So the head of finance, for example, and his team needs to create the annual financial report. That's what he needs to get done in order to support his company with some legal compliance, financial compliance
Okay.
things. Yeah.
So to make it interactive, can I
Okay,
throw few questions
please,
here?
anytime,
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the beauty of our podcast. So I will always wear solution architect cap and I will throw questions so our audience
please.
can really understand. So if you can jump to the previous slide, what we are saying here is it is very much related to, I will share my screen. It is so amazing. I created this my slide couple of days back for my own use and how it is totally matching what you are saying.
Okay,
So
cool.
so here what you are saying is this enterprise, these four categories or objects or concept, whatever we want to call it, people, activity, object, and outcome. You are saying if we creating a data or AI project or product, all these four has to be there for sure, right?
Yes. I mean, it's obvious, yes.
It's an obvious. So when we say enterprise, we are saying enterprise are used to create data products. Are we saying that?
I think enterprises are used to create data ever since,
Data
even
or
before
data
the.
products?
Um, I mean, we can discuss, does it make sense to have data products or data as a product? That's a bit different.
Ah,
So what
ah,
I'm saying is data, and in EDGY we say, and we have data as a type of an object, if you
ah.
want.
Okay, okay. I got your point. You are saying data is created because of these four components. That's what
Y-
you're saying.
Yeah, genau, and yeah, exactly. And then you need to discuss, how do I design it? Yeah, do I
Okay.
give it in a classical data warehouse structure,
Yeah,
star
yeah, yeah.
scheme? So
That is
that's
for
the idea.
reporting.
Yeah.
That is absolutely. So I have come up with my own data definition. Let me lay it out for you. Let's see what's your feedback.
Hmm.
My definition is properties and behavior of an entity is data. That's what I say then. When I say properties and behavior, so of an entity. So in your diagram, entity people is an entity, right? When you do activities, those are behavior, and outcome is also a behavior. It comes out. Objects are also entities. So it's kind of a mix and match that, see, everything starts with an entity. You have to have an entity. Human is an entity, object is an entity.
Yeah,
And what you do with those become behavior. Behavior can be internal behavior, behavior can be external behavior. Internal behavior, if you give, I give you an example. For example, your in your diagram, train has fuel, has gas,
exactly.
right?
Yes.
It moves here and there. It has mechanics, X, Y. This is an internal behavior. Its shape changes, right? But
Hmm.
external behavior is customer use it. You buy and sell the train. Train
Hmm.
goes from one location to another location. Passengers goes in. So there's a transactionals happening on the object. So that's an external behavior. So that's my definition of data. Like, again, let me repeat it. Properties and behavior of an
That,
entity is data. That's what I call it.
Yeah, I mean, I know this mindset, and I would certainly agree. So I grew up in my younger days in this industry. I started with business object modeling. I don't know
Hmm.
if you know, still know Objectory. So it was
Yeah.
the ancestor of rational and then the rational rows, UML, and so on. And
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
this time in the 90s, Ivar Jacobson and business object modeling was a big, big topic. So I grew up with business object. I'm still a big fan of having a business object model, which is I would say, a mirror or a reflection of business entities or business object, if you want. So I'm still a fan to do business object modeling and saying that it's a representation of the objects that are relevant in the business. I totally agree to that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think you are also going towards let's bring the angle of unstructured, and within unstructured, when we talk about metadata, what you just created, it was kind of a taxonomy and ontology. So
Yes.
that is where you find concepts, you can find objects, many things, and then you create a relationship. As in your
Yes.
second diagram, you created a relationship. Let's discuss on that as well, because when we talk about structured data, we are very much into normalization, which is we create
Hmm.
tables, we join tables with primary key one to many, many to many, XYZ, right? We have a defined relationship
Hmm.
embedded inside the data model. But when we go into unstructured world,
Hmm.
that is where taxonomies and ontologies come, and that is where your enterprise definition comes in. Let's discuss that. What do you say about that?
So I'm not the biggest expert, to be honest, in
Okay.
unstructured data. Yeah, so I
Okay.
just have an opinion. So I would not
Yeah,
say that
please,
I'm
please.
I have an opinion on that. I'm maybe I grew up with structured data. Yeah, so business object modeling, having a clear entity relationship model, relational database, structured data was paramount. So we always tried to make sense of the mess if you want. Yeah. So, and
Mm.
but then it changed with the term big data. I think 20 years ago, the term big data was coined, and then you had data lakes and data vaults and data. So for me, sometimes it's really, I'm baffled by the fact how many terms the data community brings up. Data mesh, I forgot data mesh. So it's
Yeah.
a, it's the $1 million question, how to deal with the mess. Mess, so
Yeah.
unstructured data, but I mean, it's the reality because you don't always have structured data in the quality you
Yeah.
need. And I know that AI is super strong in finding patterns and to structure and make data, do some data cleansing maybe, or structure it at least better. So I'm still a fan of trying to structure data in the way that it's best in a certain situation. Yeah, but I still
Yeah.
believe in structured data as well.
Yeah. I'm also a big fan of even if you have an unstructured data, you have to convert into structure because
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, because structure is structure. There is a reason there is a structure, right? You cannot have an unstructured and you leave unstructured as unstructured and do analytics on it. Yes, on a real time you can do it, but you have to dig out the right information and put it into a structured format. So I think we are on the same page. Let's discuss further on you have written a book on this as well, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, EDGY, it's online. It's an open source methodology. So 2 years ago, we launched EDGY, which we say is a language. It's we don't use the term meta model or ontology because
Okay.
the purpose of EDGY is to bring modeling, if you want, to everybody. Yeah. Today we have IT communities and modeling, meta modeling, UML and ARC42 and entity relationship. Yeah. So IT, for a good reason, has a long history and tradition in modeling of all kinds. But if you go
Mm,
to the business side, business modeling, okay, you have process models, yeah, and you have organizational structures. There are models, but typically business people who did not go to a IT university are
mm,
not so keen and maybe also not analytical strong enough to model. So there is this continuum between free-form modeling and concepts that are vague business concepts. Usually business people are some fussy in their heads. They are not always
mm,
unambiguous and clear. And on the other hand, you have the demands from the IT side where you must be precise and we want to have a clear meta model. We want to have clear entities relationship as clear as they get so you get clarity when you do requirements engineering, business object modeling. I mean, that's the process from a fuzzy idea from the business side until you have an application or a data structure and so
Ah,
on. Yeah.
I think let's uh, convert this session towards your edgy, because I would love to hear about it, what it is.
Okay.
Because if I'm not wrong, you are going towards graph theory. Because in graph theory, correct me if I'm wrong, how near you are graph theory? Because what you were just explaining, graph theory is something similar. You talk to the customer, you find out objects, entities, relationship, and you draw
Yeah.
in a business
Okay.
business term. Yeah.
I mean, you can say so, yeah, but of course, those terms, graph theory, ontology, are way too much for business people. So if you use the term graph theory, I'm a computer scientist, I get a feeling what you mean by that. But if you use the term when you talk to management, business management, you are the nerd. So that's really the challenge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, the idea that the motivation behind this is what we see in companies usually are messes of a grown IT, huge technical debt. So that's the good old story, how to make sense of this mess. And we all know that we have companies that
Mm-hmm.
run on hundreds, thousands of applications, server database. So companies run on messes, on IT application messes, on data messes, and we must be honest enough. Yeah, so they are
Yeah.
really good in and we as IT engineers, we always tried to simplify, to reduce, but it never worked for certain reasons. Well, then there's the next merger, you don't get the budget for some consolidation and so on. And the question is, why is this? Yeah, so the idea and the reason why this is that you have hundreds, maybe thousands of people in a company that design the enterprise in parallel. Yeah, so you have software architects, maybe that's closer to our business, process managers, service designers, and you have managers. Yeah, and managers are the people shaping the elephant, making the big decisions, defining organizational structures, which then lead to maybe new IT systems. So Conway's law, I'm not sure if you know that, are familiar with that. Usually, people, Conway's law says that the IT structure, the system structure, is always derived from the organizational structure. So if you change your organization, um, changes in the IT will follow accordingly. And that's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating. That means that the head of enterprise design, enterprise architecture, with the most impact are managers because they say, okay, we don't need this line of business anymore, which means that we don't need those 100 IT applications, that data anymore. So that means that business decision, of course, are the biggest drivers. So the question is, can we design, and that's edgy, can we design something, yeah, and we call it a language currently, that we can bring to those people meta modeling for organizational designers. If you've ever worked with them, they are sometimes quite aliens. They don't structure entities relations. They shape structure. They work on cultural topics, people topics. How do we make decisions? And the meta modeling structuring is quite for them. They don't know it quite well. Yeah? And
Mm-hmm.
so there are many people. And that's the reason why we have the masses in this company. Yeah? We have many architects, if you want. And
Mm-hmm.
data may be closest to software architecture, yeah, because in an application, you could also say you have a data architect. I'm fine with that. Is only one of the perspectives, which is a result of business activity, of course. So that's the idea. And so the idea, and I think so, there's some slides and I want to skip them for now. Um, the idea behind our goal we had, maybe this one is a good one, with Edgy was to make architecture, enterprise architecture, that means how to structure our business, how to structure our enterprise design, make it as usable as an iPhone, make it beautiful. Because when I talk to business and use the term graph theory, systems thinking, ontology, entity relationship, they will kick me out of the office. It's too nerdy for them. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
IT slang. But how can we create something that is a bit better than natural language, and we call it edgy, and that's the reason why we designed it around only four base elements. Yeah, we say, okay, that's how you model it. So before you define which objects do you need, maybe it's better to design the outcomes. What is it what you want to get done? outcomes first, yeah? And then outcomes, okay, we want to achieve those outcomes. We might want to have more punctual trains, for example. How can we achieve it? Maybe we need faster trains. That would be an object. Maybe we need better data. Yeah, better data about what's going on on our rails and so on. And yeah, and maybe that's the idea, to create something that is holistic. The idea, the base elements, and then we use a bit of a trick, and we say, okay, now let's use flashlights, colors on those four base elements. So now for a second, let's look at our enterprise from an architecture perspective. So let's discuss the question, how are we operating and what are we capable of achieving? Operations, engineering, business processes, data. Which data do I need for which business process, for example, or which data is being created by which business process. So data, I would say, is close, deep in the architecture facet. Yes? And what we want to do with EDGY, we want to change the perspective, if you want, and say, okay, what is our role in people's life? Now we are in experience topics, user experience. Yeah? And of course, the quality of data affects the experience of people. But we look at it differently at this second. For example, you're in a railway station and you have this information screen where you find the train schedules. And if the data is not correct, then you provide a poor user experience, because passengers get angry if they need to wait 2 hours for the train because and the data is wrong. Yeah? So that means that an problem in architecture, maybe in an IT application, that you don't have the right data in this moment, leads to a weak user experience and to emotions, and we lose customers. Yeah? Then we are taking, and then we can say, how can we improve the experience for these passengers? Which data, information, content, how do we need to present the data in a way to provide the best possible experience? So it's just a different viewpoint. What we are doing here is to merge concepts coming from user experience disciplines with concepts coming from architecture, yeah, like data models. So that's the blue and the red facet. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And maybe the most important one, some people say the most important one is the why. Yeah, if you know this Simon Sinek book, Start with Why.
Yeah.
Why are we doing it? The identity. What matters to us? Yeah, if I relate it to data, what would it say about our identity, that the data on our web page is completely wrong? So if we communicate something on our web page, some report, some data, who we are, and so on, or we publish a completely wrong train schedule. That's a problem in the experience because passengers get angry, but it says a lot about us, because that means we don't care about being correct. Yeah, so it's a different lens on the same thing, on
Mm.
an attribute somewhere in the database. Yeah, but you can trace every bit of a data to a process. Why do I need it? And it always says something about our identity, if you want. Yeah. For example, if you have wrong data and you don't care.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I mean that's the idea, that's the model. We wanted to keep it as simple as possible, to have only those four elements, and data is a type of an asset, of an object here. And then we use these flashlights and want people to change perspectives.
No, hold on. So what we are saying is whenever so we started that how data is created.
Yep.
So are you is edgy only focused to explore how data is created or how data is created for data products? What we are saying, because when we say data created, data can be created for OLTP applications as well.
Yeah.
Because there are two zones, right? One is OLTP, which is applications, very much front end application talking. ERP solutions are there, Salesforce is there, all those.
Yeah.
But then we pull it into OLAP systems. So which data you are talking about?
Edgy doesn't really say much about applications versus data products. I think this is a
Okay.
super complicated discussion. I'm not the biggest fan of data products because I
Okay.
see it quite in a conflict with applications. I'm a bit skeptical when I hear the term data products for these
We can
reasons.
discuss that. In this
Yeah, yeah,
call,
we
we
can.
can
Okay,
discuss as well. I
exactly.
would love to hear your perspective because For me, I think next era is data product. But what is data product? Let's discuss that as well. But
Yeah, we
before,
can do that. But edgy, we want to be technology agnostic. So we
okay,
connect to modelings and design approaches of the IT people, and having data product is a current trend coming from a big community, but there
yeah,
are other communities in the IT space that would not agree to the necessity of data products. Yeah, we have the
okay,
domain-driven designer communities. You have people still talking about IT applications. So for me, data products is a trend, and I understand where the trend comes from.
mm,
AI fueled, if you want a discussion, I understand that. But the discussion is not over. What is an application? What is a data product? In Edgy, what we say is both application, data product, data is an object. But
yeah,
please, more important, maybe the first question should be, what is it what you get done? That's outcome. Yeah, what is it what we
yeah,
want to get
yeah.
done? Which processes do we need? Which activities do we need to perform in order to get there? We need to drive the train. Yeah, so we first must agree on our, if you want, business model, or
Mm.
what are we trying to do to achieve our outcomes, and then how to design data, how to structure it in data products, applications, unstructured data, however you deal with that, is a third question maybe. It's not the driving question, I think.
Yeah, so it means end of the day, you are in Edgy, you are creating a holistic picture of data for business understanding. What you are saying, right? So there are two ways, right? Either you are creating an applications or data
Yes,
product from scratch, or either as your next slide, the first was one slide was very messy. You are saying the
yes,
mess is already there. You pick up from that mess and you create something visual for business to understand the data.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, you
okay.
can say it that way. You can say it that way, but we always try to trace back to the outcome, to the question, why do I need it?
No, why do I need what?
Why
So
do I need data in an appropriate quality? Why do I need data? We need data to perform our processes better, maybe to automate. Yeah, we need data to make better business decisions.
yeah.
So the question is, okay, you can have data, but the question is, which capabilities does it support? So capability, that's a main object in Edgy. What do we need to be capable of doing? We need to do finance, we need to sell tickets, we need to, so we have some bubbles.
Okay. Okay. To be very frank, to be wearing a solution architect cap, I'm still unable to crack Edgy. To be
Okay?
very frank, I think it's a good thing for you as well,
Yes.
because the more questions I will ask as a layman. So you're saying Edgy is a concept, is a process, is a framework. What Edgy is itself? Let me ask very basic, a stupid question.
In its current version, it's a language to help people create better enterprises. So we want to bring a very colorful, playful language. We see it as, if you Lego serious play, a playful, you could have wooden pieces, and we
Mm.
want to foster a collaborative enterprise design approach, where data is an important topic, but not the only one. So what we want to see,
Okay.
we want to see heads of business units, business experts of various departments maybe
Mm.
play together the edgy game, if you want, to get to move from their ambiguous understanding of the business, because I can also be frank, usually business people don't know what they are doing. I mean, that may be a bit too blunt, yeah.
Mm.
But top level managers don't really get the complexity, what's going on the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah, yeah.
And so see it as a language, a simple, colorful, playful thing that wants to foster collaborative design, where you have the business aspects, organization, processes, products. We have all the elements, everything that
Okay.
needs to be designed. And data plays a role and must be related to processes and must be related to capabilities, if you want, and to products.
Mm. Do you have any output, some sample to show us that once
Yes.
you create this, how it look like? Like, let me try to make sense out of it.
Mhm. Okay.
Because where I'm thinking this edgy can help, because I'm more over a OLAP side guy. I'm not a OLTP side guy.
Mhm.
What I can hear from you, if I correlate this edgy with OLAP applications, it's more over getting data from OLTP for the, of course, business relationship. Okay. This is graph theory. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
These are graphs.
Yeah, that's not wrong, but we don't want to use I can use this term when I talk to you, but not when I talk to other people because that's too nerdy.
Fair
We
enough.
call it
Fair enough.
it's a language. You can also build sentences, yeah. So um, and we can go through this, we call it edgy statements or edgy sentences if you want. Yeah, so and
Mm.
that's the way we use it. On the right side, you have the asset. You have an application. Let's say on your mobile phone, you have a mobile phone, iOS or Android
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
application where you can buy the ticket. I could
Got it.
model data here. This asset also provides data and gets data from in this interaction, of course. So I could start from the right to the, so IT people usually start inside out their thinking. So it's okay,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
data
yeah.
do I need? I need the price of the tickets. I need which tickets categories I have and so on. Yeah.
Okay,
And then you have an
mm,
sorry?
yeah, so let me add a question here. So normally when we talk about ontologies and taxonomies, I understand you don't want to use this IT savvy words in front of business. You don't want. You want to
Yes.
call this. But let me correlate it. So in taxonomies, normally we have one relationship only. One
Mm-hmm.
top hierarchy can have multiple. So it's kind of hierarchy, right? Tree kind
Yep.
of hierarchy. But when you go into ontologies, taxonomy is also part of the ontology, but in ontologies, one element is connecting to multiple elements and
Yes.
versus other way around and can have multiple relationships with the same entity.
Mm-hmm.
So here in this edgy, I can see you have relationships. Can it have one relationship between two elements or it can have only one
Yes.
relationship?
Can I'm just searching for the example. Give me a second.
Yeah, if it can have only one relationship, then it might be a little bit different than taxonomies and ontologies. But it
No, no,
is, I
it
would
can have
say,
multiple. So I think that's, if you want, that's the meta model, but it's not a
yes.
strict meta model.
Yeah,
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 so we have lines. So
yes.
that's if you want the full edgy picture with all the colors. And here again, we have the types of elements. So we say a product, for example, is a square, which means it's an object, it's a
Oh,
ticket. Yeah, you buy.
it's a product. It highlights. You are saying it's a complete. You can drag, drop, and connect. Is it? It's kind of a graph DB. Is it? At backend.
Sorry?
Now, when you put your mouse there, it highlighted. So
Yeah, yeah.
is it is it is it working product? Is it?
Yeah, so I can click here and then I get a definition of the element. Yeah, so I say, what do we
Oh,
mean by a product? A
it's a
product is what we
correct.
make of and deliver for people's benefit, like a ticket. Yeah, so that's why the term data product is a bit problematic with Edgy because we use the term product as something that we deliver to the customer directly, not an
No, 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 no,
internal.
no. Okay, let me as we are discussing this just for our audience. When we talk about data products, we are not talking about this product which you are showing here. This is a organization's OLTP product. Like company creates a train. Train is a product.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
train is a product of a manufacturing company. That's a product. But
or
data
you
product
buy
is
a
different.
car or you buy an insurance
Correct,
contract.
correct,
So
correct. So
that's
that's our data pro. Okay, I think now I understand where you are confused. So data product which we are talking about, that's a OLAP data product. So the data product which you are saying, that's a transactional data product.
yes.
So don't confuse this with our world's data product. Okay.
Yeah, language is a slippery slope.
Okay,
Language is
let me put some light on it. Let's add few things here so it'll make sense for audience as well. So when we talk about data product, right, we are saying from OLTP you use data and create another product using only data, not processes, nothing, only
yep,
data from OLTP, and you create an output for decision making. It has to be
yes,
for decision making and for actions, right?
yep,
That is what we call as a data product.
yes,
Now there can be different natures of data products. So again, we are not talking about transactional product. We are talking about data product where a product is created using only data.
I hear you. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. In Edgy, what we do in data products and IT applications are assets. So if you say you
Yeah,
structure data products, and you need assets to support processes. So I follow
yeah,
this relation in the meta model if you want.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and if I click on asset, I can say, okay, an asset is an object we need and use to perform our capability. We need it for some business reasons. And then we have the model. So we say, okay, a process requires an asset. And then we have examples for assets. Yeah. And we are IT people, you and I, we both coming from the IT side. We
mm,
must be humble enough that maybe the more important stuff is physical, machines,
yes.
material in the railway industry. IT is of course drives companies, but of course you need a train to be a railway company.
Yeah, it's a
So
supporting item. IT is supporting. That
yeah,
I agree with
so
you. Yeah.
so your data product, if you want, we would say it's an asset and we need it. The only reason we need it is to get something done. And if you say,
Yes.
okay, it's about making decisions, making a certain decision, or decision making in general, maybe too vague, too little concrete. But to make a certain decision can be defined as a capability that I need to get done.
Okay, now let me put on the same screen, let me try to explain you because I want to convince you on data product because
Okay,
you are
good
not
luck.
convinced. Let's try it out. Let me try my luck. So okay, it'll be a win for me as well. It's a good for discussion in the podcast. So what we are saying is in nutshell, using this whole picture, whole diagram, if your top management says, I want a purpose, you define a purpose that you
Yes.
want to build, let's say, 100 more trains. You want, so your purpose is there are a lot of same your example, train example, there are a lot of people coming in, but as the population is so high in that station, people are getting late. The number of trains are less. We should buy five more trains. Let's
Mhm.
take for example. So this is an outcome that this is what you want, right? It's a planned action. You want to buy five more trains because there are delays, number of trains are less.
Yes.
Now there's an outcome. Planned value. Value is what? Yes, more people will come, more revenue will be generated. So that's the outcome. Now you ask a question. There has when you create a product, there will be questions. Questions can be asked how many assets we have, what are the capabilities we have, how many products we have, how many
Yes.
journeys happen in a day, but in peak time how many trains comes with how many time difference.
Yes.
If it is already coming after 1 minute, it does not make sense to add more trains because within 1 minute you cannot add more. So they all these so task. So based on this whole thingy, you can create one data product and many data products. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Exactly. But I think the story is exactly how you told it. Yeah. You
Yeah,
um so if I translate it to edgy, we are Deutsche Bahn, Austrian Railways, or let's say we are a railway company, and our purpose is to help people move from A to B,
yeah.
and our purpose is to be punctual and safe. Usually, and a railway company says, okay, safety, punctuality,
Hmm.
comfort, good usage. So there are some things that make our railway company special. Yeah, we
Hmm.
provide the best comfort. We are the most punctual company and so on. And
Hmm.
these are purposes. Then you start because that's us. You could also say, I don't care about punctuality. Can be a business decision, but because then we have cheap operations and don't need. So, but that's the why. So now you follow and what the purpose to the organization and ask yourself, okay, which groups of people do I need, and which capabilities, it's maybe the core element in the architecture facet. We need to have the capability to move a train with 500 people in a certain speed, with a certain amount of safety, with a certain, so then you purpose first, and then you derive which capabilities do I need to set up, and then I can heat map and measure those capabilities. I can say, okay, yes, I have the capability to drive a train, to move it from A to B, but our data has shown that our punctuality is not in line with our intended and that's where data comes in. But we
Hmm.
see it, and maybe that's we see capability first. Yeah, the first question is
Yeah.
where are we weak at and why? And where are we weak at, of course, is closely related. I need the data to understand where I need to improve. But the focus is the capability. We want to be better and more punctual.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we are on the same page. What you are doing, you are mostly creating the metadata, I would say. And you are right in a say you are creating something which is very business specific and business should understand rather than technical people. I
Mhm.
think you can convert your edgy into a graph theory for techie people to create a product, data product. That I can take away from this.
Yeah, one thing, yes, and the other thing is with EDGY, we don't have a model that goes too deep into implementation. We don't want to replace UML, ARC42, C4.
Okay.
There are many languages that are more specific for server design or UML, this whole IT modeling, ARC42 or Archimate, if you know Archimate, it's a language of enterprise
Mm.
architects. These are technical languages, and you can model deep into servers and databases and so on. We don't want to replace it. We want to bring model to everybody and then connect to a more specific modeling language.
Oh, so what you're saying is you are creating a visual for business to understand what data is down there. Oh, I took it totally the other way because I am a technical guy, right? I create metadata and all this to create a product. You are saying products and solutions are already created, whichever way it is, but you give it a such a user friendly look and feel so business can understand what kind of data is down there.
Yeah, and
Ah,
where are the flaws?
yeah, yeah,
Where
yeah,
is
yeah. Absolutely. See, okay, we are going into the right direction. What happens when a problem statement comes? In my world, what we do is first of all, there's a problem statement. We find out the problem statement, then we find out the entities, objects, concepts, all those things. We put it onto the board. Then we say, as you say, there's a product, there's a capability. Then we join. When we join and we say, hey, our current data is coming, these are the relationships. And once you start creating relationship, that is where you can really find a problem statement.
Yep.
And once you find a problem statement and then you go and fix your data model. Okay, I got your point. I
Yeah.
think what you are
I
building
think this
is
very well connects. I think I really appreciate this perspective, yeah, and companies need exactly these questions, these problem statements, yeah. But the answer on of these questions is not trivial. So that means business should start modeling making their ambiguity clearer in their heads. They need to get clearer about the purposes. They need to be clearer about their organization, their capabilities. What is it where we need to get better at? That's not a trivial question, but that's the question you maybe should answer first. Because before you look into data problems, yeah, that means we want to move all the problems we have process problems, we have user experience
hmm,
problems, we may have branding problems, we may have weak products, we may have weak data. So you can have problems everywhere. Yeah.
hmm, hmm,
And we want to connect those more specialized problems, if you want, or design challenges to a whole picture and connect disciplines. So the data community is super important. So the people dealing with data, I always
hmm, hmm, hmm.
really honor their work. But of course, they can't change enterprises only with data because you need
Cannot.
to get the
Absolutely agree.
yeah.
Enterprise and entities will never change. It's a base for everything. See,
Yes.
in an organization, if you have an entities don't change. So actually, the beauty of this diagram which you are
Yes.
showing here is that, of course, a problem statement. This is an whole enterprise which you are showing here. Correct. Now, the good part of this piece is that a problem will reside somewhere in this links. It cannot be out of this. Correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
It should be a complete list, a complete list of elements. You can model everything or everything right. We believe after 3 years work, it was 3 years to create that, that everything that goes on today in an enterprise can be described by those elements. only. You
Yeah,
don't need more elements. And everything you want to design for the future, future state modeling, yeah, can be designed with those elements. And that you need to focus
absolutely.
on those elements that are relevant in your challenge. There's no need to model everything and design a future state with all of
Absolutely.
those elements. Only
Absolutely.
where you have a problem or where you believe you have a question, a problem. That's the right word.
Absolutely. So this edgy, you are saying this is a product, right? And I can see enterprise dot design. This is online or this is your personal? I think this
No,
is your
no, that's online, yeah, to a bit of a promotion. So if the people who watch this podcast like to learn more, it's enterprise.design. We are quite proud of this domain, of course, because it's the perfect domain, enterprise.design, because we want to bring enterprise design to life. And it's online. It's like a Wikipedia, right? It's based on Wikimedia.
so everybody can pick it up and implement it into their organization. Follow these rules and regulation and guidelines and build in your organization, right?
Yes, it's open source, so we are not for profit verein, so we gift it to the world.
Hmm.
um, because we want to help. That's the purpose of our association, is to help people create better enterprises. So if you're curious, go to enterprise design and click. So I think it's beautiful. Yeah, you can go to asset and then you say, okay, what asset can be applications, data. Now, okay, what do we mean by data? Facts or information. So I think it's quite comprehensive and well designed. Uh, yeah, and more to come. So we publish new tools regularly. So we are up for publishing more and more open source content to help people create better enterprises. Yeah.
So these are not related to domains, right? It's not related to banking or telco and all of that. This is
No.
generic, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think this is great. I can see down there people, outcome, activity, and objects. This is great, Wolfgang. I think it was a great session. We have a time check of 4 minutes, right? So I won't drag you because you are a busy person. So again, thank you so much for taking out time. I hope I tried my best to convince you for data product, but that is again an implementation side,
Yes.
which is totally different what you're saying, by the way, right?
Yeah. So thank you for the discussion. I always appreciate those questions. And so I'm giving presentations for various communities, and we must all be aware that we have a mindset and we have a
Yes,
part of the elephant. We understand some people are keen on data, others on experiences. And what we want to make happen, thanks for helping me with that, is to bridge those disciplines and always try to connect it to the whole elephant or to the whole enterprise and know to understand, because usually people designing data or applications don't ask as much questions that would be needed to understand the whole better. So we want to make people curious. Okay, why do we need this data? For which capabilities? For which purposes? And so on. So that,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. There has to be questions. Actually, I have this customer engagement cycle which I am working on, and I have 4 steps. First is ask question. What questions? If someone is creating a data product, a customer or client or business comes and say, "Hey, I need to create a solution. I create a project." So first thing I will ask them is, what questions you want to ask from that product or project or solution.
yeah,
They'll say, okay, I want to ask this 5 questions. Then I will ask them, second step, what outcome or answers you expect from those questions. Tell me
yes,
upfront. Once they tell you the question and outcomes, story doesn't end here.
yeah,
I'll say what actions you will take on the answers, right?
exactly.
There has to be an action,
Yes,
and it still
perfect.
finishes here. If still doesn't finish here, once you do an action, what is the value you will generate? There has to be a value.
Yeah,
So these are the 4 steps. I'm creating a white paper on it. Once I'm done, I'll share with you. So
yeah.
I'll say any of this step is missing, then you are done. You should not go into that solution.
What you're doing in this moment is you traversing the EDGY model. You start from data and then you ask the why and which activity process
Yes.
we have it in EDGY and what is what you want to get done. Then we are purposes, outcomes, and so on.
It is
So I
very much
think,
it is very much relevant, but you have it. Yeah.
yeah. And so maybe so if you have some material, I'm also curious to learn more from your thing.
I'll share with you. I'm working on this paper because I'm going to create. I have my own DAS architecture. If you got a chance the other day, I uploaded. So I'm coming up with an implementation methodology as well. That how when a requirement comes, how you start the whole piece. Normally, what we go is normally we go and start asking n number of questions from business or keep telling business. I think it's very difficult. You should go to the business and you should ask few questions, few answers. What these four elements which I told you.
Yeah.
Based on these elements, I feel you should create the edgy. I
Hmm.
call it graph theory. You are calling it edgy.
Okay,
Because once
interesting.
I know what are the questions, what are the answers, what are the actions, what are the value, I can dig out the entities. Once I
Yeah,
have the entities, I can create relationships.
I hear you. Yeah, yeah, I understand that. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Makes sense. Yes.
Right. Okay. Again, thank you so much. Pleasure having. It's a
Was a
time check.
pleasure.
I don't want to drag you, but
Thank
if
you.
this is our first session, it should not be our last session.
We will publish the podcast also over our network. So we have a newsletter with quite some emails and so on. So,
Okay.
and we
Awesome.
know that data is important topic and we want to reach also many communities. So the data community is an important one and a huge one.
Hmm.
There are other communities that are important, service design, user experience. So there are so many disciplines around
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
making a connection to those silos because disciplines are usually like silos. Yeah, not everybody. Most people, some people are also able to look outside of the boundary of the silo. But reaching more audiences with the idea to collaboratively design enterprises from all of those valued perspectives is our purpose. That's the purpose of our association, right?
Yeah. As you mentioned, right, this golden cycle, right? That why, how, and what.
Yes,
I believe 90% people are working on what? Technology,
exactly.
technology, technology, right? People hardly go towards why and how. Now,
Exactly.
why is again, business knows why. I feel this how will become very important.
Yep.
Very important because you need to know best practices. As you mentioned, so many data models are there. You do not know what to do and which one to implement. So that how will become very important. Again, thank you so much. We will try to have more sessions with you.
Cool.
Pleasure
Let's stay
hearing
in
to you.
contact.
Yeah,
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
you
Have a
too.
nice
Take care. Bye
evening
bye.
in
You too.
bye bye.
Yeah, bye bye.